Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello and welcome back to the channel where today we are taking a look at the completely ready, full production specification AMG One. We can have a full exploration of the car today, check out the interior, talk about the driving modes, run through some of the technical details, the facts and figures, the outputs, the power it delivers, pop it down into the Race Plus mode to show you what the Aero does, these vents on the front, the wing at the rear, how the suspension adjusts. We can open up the engine bay covers and have a look back there as well. This is a very spectacular car and we finally get to take a full look at the production ready AMG One. This has been a long time coming. We've only got a few minutes to take a look at the car today, but let's do the best possible to fully explore it. The AMG One that I remember seeing being driven onto the stage for the first time at the Frankfurt IAA back in 2017 by Lewis Hamilton, of course now 7 times Formula One world champion, because the AMG One is based around its power plant, that V6 Formula One engine, mated in this case with 4 electric motors. Of course, this is a very clever system. You've got the turbo and the MG UK, you've got the 2 electric motors up front, but we now have all of the details about the car. We've been waiting for this. They've been testing it to an incredible degree to make sure that this can run and be a road legal car with a Formula One engine. And just look at it. This is in the highway mode, so it sits a little bit higher. We'll be able to pop that down very shortly. And crucially, we'll be able to take a look inside here as well to give you a quick glimpse with the dihedral doors. We've got the carbon fiber monocoque, the seats fixed into the tub. We've got the dashboard displays, that Formula One inspired steering wheel as well, and some amazing, amazing things to go through with this. And like I say, it's a car very close to my heart, loving driving on the racetrack, following Formula One, and being a big AMG fan as well, I think we can say. But we need to go through all of this. So let's come round. And this is presented, by the way, with the special Motorsport Package. You can see with the livery, the painted stars like the 2020 F1 cars. We've also got, if we come to the very front, where you can see the Petronas details with the lime green accents, and even this very specially painted Mercedes 3-pointed star. It's actually 16 different elements painted underneath the lacquer. It is not a sticker. It looks wonderful, obviously on the full carbon fiber bodywork that we have with this. Now, we had a look around the styling of the AMG One when it was presented, and a number of times since. They've been doing a lot of testing at the Nordschleife, out at their own testing facilities, and made it a road car. This is a road car with an F1 engine. You can see lots of openings for cooling at the front, the AMG painting on the grille here. Obviously, this is all about managing the airflow, keeping all of the systems as cool as possible. But we've got lots of clever aero details. For example, on the bonnet on the front here, you can see all of these separate vanes which guide the air in different directions. So for example, keeping the clean air over the top towards the snorkel for cooling, you have air around the sides as well, and you also have the air that's deflected by this system, plus the complicated DRS elements of it that we can also discover as well. And then it's so open around the sides, all of this just a work of art to behold, the sculpted bodywork. And you come towards the back and you won't notice things like this at first, but additional cooling in through these covers over the engine. And it's actually quite clever how they open in the separate sides. You've got the shark fin running through the back, AMG E-Performance of course designating the hybrid and EV element of it. And then this rear spoiler actually has 2 levels. It raises, and then that extra second level comes out and pops back too, which we can see in a moment. Down here, look at the diffuser, look at this exhaust. This is actually something they've had to work very, very hard on to ensure that it can meet homologation, that it can be registered and be a road car, but still have that F1 sound and certainly the F1 visual style. But something you notice, it's a road car, it's an AMG. You've still got things like parking sensors. You've still got a camera up here as well. You've still got the usability elements that obviously the customers of a car like this so much crave. So there's a lot to this, but I want to pop open the engine covers and talk about that, because that's really where the story of this, I think, focuses. It is the AMG One. You have a button to press just down here. Give that a push, and it opens up the cover on the driver's side. You literally lift this out, slide it back, lift it up, and we can go and safely pop that over to the side and come back to take a better look inside at all of this. So effectively what we've got is the 1.6 litre turbo V6. We're making 570 or so horsepower just from that. With the MG UK, as you know from F1, that makes 90 kilowatts, just over 100 horsepower. And then you also have the electric turbos, plus the 2 electric motors up front, making 120 kilowatts each, for a total of 1,063 horsepower. Big, big numbers. Now, to open the other side of this, to show you that as well, we have to pop this little catch, and then the other side of it can be opened and removed also. Learning as I go a little bit here, just slide this out, pop that off, and we can also see in the back there parts of the suspension. A very, very clever suspension system, as you're going to discover when we show how to raise and lower it. You've obviously got it running here, but the way it works effectively is to independently separate the ride height with the effectively roll and damping. Obviously a lot of cooling from the snorkel, and you can see how that goes into the F1 engine buried right down here, which is mounted directly onto the back of the carbon fibre monocoque. The gearbox is mounted directly to the engine, and even some of the linkages for the suspension are mounted directly to the gearbox. The ultimate in lightweight, rigidity, feeling, and being completely connected, absolutely bolted in. Of course, all carbon fibre for all of the components that we have inside here as well. And that's just scratching on the surface of it. You've also got the 8.4 kilowatt hour battery. The battery is in fact mounted under your knees, so about here across the car. That's enough for driving in electric mode, or of course going full out attack should you prefer as well. The seats are completely fixed, but I think I should probably take a step inside and show you some of the screens, displays, and the settings we have here. Right, now this is very low to the ground, as you would expect, and one of the most amazing things is how you literally have your heels in the adjustable pedal box sitting above your bum, being sat in the seats. So I'm going to climb in here, try and do this as dignified as I possibly can, not too bad, and you're aware that it's a very closed cabin, but my word, does it feel special to be in here with these displays, all of this setup, and this steering wheel. It's instantly familiar from a Mercedes-Benz product with these controls that you have around. They've changed a little bit, and from AMG with these toggles we have down at the bottom as well, the way you use this to change through your different driving modes. On the left though, instead of your cruise control, this is where you have your recuperation. So recuperation more aggressively or softer depending how you like it, access to your favorite displays, your pit speed limiter, of course, because F1. On the steering wheel, we've got the control for the headlights. Imagine if you're able to kind of press and hold that and blink it away like you're on the racetrack. You have DRS and pass. We can talk more about those when we've popped the car into the track mode. On the display, you can see here we've got our different modes. So you have individual, EV, and your race safe, race plus, which are all to do with how you want to drive. You have the opportunity even to put it into Strat 2, like Lewis Hamilton, setting a qualifying lap out in a Formula 1 circuit, or you can drive it in full electric out on the road, whichever it is you might want in terms of the profile, the battery management, and the ultimate, let's say, lap times that you can have out of it as a result. The steering wheel is electrically adjustable. I've got a toggle just to the left side to move that. To move the pedal box, I have this lever just between my legs down there. You can't actually put the pedals as far away from you as I might have expected, but hey, you feel like you're sat right down towards the ground. Obviously the view behind with elements of that engine bay and the snorkel coming in over the top, and of course given as a result the absence of rear visibility, we obviously have the camera with the rear view electric display up there as well. Now in here, in the controls and screens and what we've got a whole host of different things that you can see. Data, of course, you can enlarge it. I love playing with these kind of things just to see the different systems, and hopefully it will be possible to spend a little bit more time exploring these down the line. If we just turn on the ignition, we can see a little bit more of this and all of the different systems and what we have available to us in here. Now at the moment we're in race safe. If we turn this, we can put it into your normal race mode, or if you go all the way, this is when you would then be able to put the car up into race plus and drop the suspension, which we can do in just a moment as a little bit of a demonstration. I'm just learning as I go. Obviously here you've got the balance of the MGUs, the different power at the rear. In fact, it's 120 kilowatts from the MG UK and 90 kilowatts that comes from the electric turbo system that you have directly mounted obviously to the engine back there, the MG UK sitting on the crankshaft. Wow, there's so much to take in very quickly in here. It's time then to demonstrate this. Obviously, we all love to see the transformation of a car, and this does quite a lot. To do so, you turn it into Race Plus, then you press and hold the paddle. So allow me to close down the door, and you can take a little look at what happens with this when we do exactly that. Watch this transformation happening right now. How amazing is that? At the front, it drops 37 millimeters. At the rear, it drops 30 millimeters. And you can also see the way that the Aero has opened up both over the front arches and also the rear spoiler as well. So let me hop out just to show you this, and we'll take a walk around of the whole details of the Aero and the different profiles. And this is just touching on it. Obviously, these have opened up, and I remember when we saw the car for the first time, these weren't explained. We didn't have a full understanding of how they would work, but you can obviously see the tyre directly through to reduce the air pressure that's swelling up in the wheel arches when you're driving at speed. And talking tyres, by the way, obviously we have a set of the specific Michelin Sport Cup 2 R tyres, and in fact, you've got these AMG style graphics all the way around with this velvet style appearance, with the AMG One graphic there as well. Specific tyres made for the car, different to the GT Black Series, but obviously to optimise the performance. And even looking at the wheels themselves, you have the magnesium wheels to be as light as possible. You've got these carbon covers, which help to pull the air out as much as they can, obviously to, again, optimize aero, help with performance, and avoid the distraction that it would cause. If we come further back, sitting 30 millimeters lower at the rear, about 1.25 inches or so, but this is where you have this gigantic full-width spoiler that's arisen from the back. You then have, in addition to that, this secondary aerofoil that pops up out of the very back as well, which actually can then be retracted if you press the DRS button on the steering wheel. So if you engage DRS, like in an F1 car, that goes in, those vents on the front arches go in to make the car even slipperier to give you maximum performance. And you also have the pass button on the steering wheel. When you press pass, it will instantly drop to the lowest possible gear. So if you're at 120 kilometers an hour and you press pass, it's going to drop straight down to second gear to give you maximum power to go, full on attack. Imagine driving that on a racetrack. Around to the passenger side, I want to show you the little storage area that we have inside with a fire extinguisher pre-installed. Of course, the idea is that these cars will be driven on the racetrack, so you want to have that. And minimum other storage for fairly obvious reasons. This is not a car that is designed for road trip. Hopefully you can have your G-Wagon or Maybach GLS or something in tow with all of the luggage. But the way it's presented inside, obviously we've got the AMG embroideries up on the headrest, the details specific to the seats, but the cloaking in lovely materials, the exposed carbon fibre, this very narrow dashboard as well, and the way these central screens are so familiar from AMG products, but obviously done in a different way for this specific car. In the central console is where you have the ignition start button mounted just here. Kind of feels like you're going to be firing up your fighter jet. You give that a press, and a small storage cubby here where we have the key at the moment. The AMG key, of course, that connects to this era of the car. We'll slide that forwards as well. I'm just a little bit in awe taking a look at all of the details inside this thing. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer before we find out lap times at the Nürburgring, for example, but to give you some of the facts and figures behind AMG One, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, just 2.9 seconds. 0 to 200 kilometers an hour, 124 miles an hour is 7 seconds dead. 0 to 300 kilometers an hour, 186 miles an hour is dispatched in only 15.6 seconds, and the top speed is governed to, get this, 352 kilometers an hour, 219 miles per hour. That's not hanging about. Now, one of the interesting things that's been discussed quite a lot is the startup process, because to get this engine homologated and registered, effectively the exhaust system and the cats need to be preheated to get some temperature into it before it can all fire up and be driven. Now, the way that works is when you start the car, for the first 50 to 60 seconds, it will be running that preheating process. That doesn't mean you have to wait for it. You can actually start driving immediately on the EV using the front-wheel drive motors, driving away instantly before the engine is then available for operation. But obviously that means that a Formula One engine can be homologated. There were rumours it must be a lot longer than that, but thankfully not the case. It's basically ready to rock and roll. You do have to have the engine quite heavily maintained though. If you do drive a lot of miles in the car, every 50,000 kilometres or so, it needs to have quite extensive work. Not that I think many of these will drive that kind of distance, sadly, because of course it would be quite the experience to do so. Just standing here looking at it and how low it sits to the ground, and having seen the evolution of the car and seeing it now with this painted livery, the car, I think, technically closely resembles the, let's say, 2016 Formula One year, Nico Rosberg's year. This car painted with this livery is more akin to the 2020 design, but all of these stars, like on the GT Black Series Project 1 edition, are hand painted on the car. All of these are hand painted, they are under the lacquer, they look absolutely beautiful to take in, the way you have this fade from the black at the rear through to the, let's say, traditional Mercedes silver, of course, famous through so many models. And we've barely touched, obviously, on the technology of the lights, the style, everything being presented, the running lights tucked in around here, surrounding those intakes and cooling vents up towards the front, and how low the car sits. Obviously, when you have it like this, down in its full Race Plus mode, learning all of the terminology, and when you're in Race Plus, you have various different hybrid settings. You can go from, let's say, a one-lap wonder, where it will use everything fully on one, all the way through to conserving the battery status as much as possible for an endurance race, whichever it might be that you want to go for with the car. All I can say from my few minutes with this is it is absolutely breathtaking. There is so much to it, and I cannot wait to spend a little bit more time around an AMG One down the line to go through it in detail. It is very exciting that the production is ready. We have a production spec car here. There are not a whole lot of them, 275 cars in total for some very lucky customers around the world. The AMG One is quite the epic machine. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this first look at the full production spec, but that's it for this time. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.